What's up, guys? Orca's here, and today we finally got what I've been waiting for to make. Honestly, we got season 4, every episode ranked for the Clone Wars, and yes, it's taken a while for me to get back to this series that I've been doing. I've already ranked every episode for seasons 1 through 3. Finally, get into 4. I feel like I've just been a little bit busy, haven't really had the time to make this because I already know this is going to be over an hour long episode or a video. But I'm hoping that I can, shorten some episode review, like mini reviews, because I just don't think I need to talk about. There's a good amount I don't really need to talk about in length, and I'd say the worst episodes are the ones I don't really need to talk about in length because there's just really not much to talk about them for. But with that said, I'm going to get right into it. And also, I might, apologies, I might take a water break. I got water here because, this might be a lot of talking and no breaks. So when I did season 2 and season 3, my throat was a little sore after talking because, over an hour of continuous talking, it gets to be a lot. So if I take a little water break, forgive me, but I will try not to, but I might once or twice, but we'll just have to wait and see. But with that, I'm going to get into the video. So in last place, number 22 on the list, there's 22 episodes still in this season. So at number 22, we have season 4, episode 6, Nomad Droids. You probably already know what the worst episodes in this show or in this season is. First, we start out with Nomad Droids, which comes in at a 7.4 out of 10, which is a C+. And surprisingly, it's the only C tier episode of the season. Yes, there's a reason why this is my favorite season in the show, and it's because of its consistency and just amount of good episodes. This is the only C tier episode in the show, and it's the C+. I think out of any season, this is the best worst episode. So season 1, the worst episode's an F tier. In season 2, the worst episode's a C-. In season 3, the worst episode's a D-. But to be the worst episode in season 4 and still be a C+ is really good. And again, like I said, this episode is Nomad Droids. It's kind of a part of a 2-part arc. We start off episode 5, Mercy Mission, with C-3PO and R2-D2, and this is the second part of it. And I just really think this episode's unnecessary. We already had, I feel like episode 5 kind of really resolved itself. I'll get to that episode right after this one, actually. But this episode just continues on it for some reason. It seems like everything's all right, but then their ship is attacked and, they go into an escape pod and, crash land on a planet. Or I think they're on a ship, actually. But they get their own ship out of the ship they're on. But then they crash land on this planet. Then they go to another planet. And then they go to, another, different place. It's just C-3PO and R2-D2 just going on all these side missions and having interactions with, the people of the planet and stuff. And, there's, all these sorts of troubles that they just solve. It's kind of weird. Again, I think this episode's one was kind of unnecessary. I would have preferred if, episode 5 was kind of just a one-off, but then they continued it for some reason. And again, it's a C+ episode. It's not, terrible or anything. I just think it was unnecessary, and we didn't really need it. But, yeah, not much really to talk about. But I guess it's cool to see R2 and C-3PO on missions together. It gives A New Hope vibes when they first crash land on Tatooine and stuff. It really gives those kind of vibes, to be honest. And if that's what they were going for, I kind of respect that. But again, just doesn't work for me. But I'm sure there's people that would like these episodes. I'm sure George probably likes these episodes. But Yeah, that's just what I think. And then again, like I said, right after it is Mercy Mission, which is number 21, season 4, episode 5, and it is a 7.82 out of 10. So a little bit of a jump up, which makes it a B tier episode. So going from a C plus to a straight B, not bad. And I do like this episode, Mercy Mission. So R2 and C3PO are with the 104th on a humanitarian aid mission to the planet of Aline, because there's like been these earthquakes that have been happening and have like really destroyed the planet. So they're trying to help this species, which are called Alina, out. One of the pod racers in a Phantom Menace is in Alina. So, and they're cool little species. They're kind of cute, but it's just, it's kind of weird. Once again, we have this standard mission, but then like R2 and C3PO like fall into like this hole, and they just go on these weird like side quests where they're trying to find their way out, and they just run into a bunch of weird people. There's like these weird tree species that are alive that they run into, and then there's like a weird frog lady. I forget her name. I think it's like Delphine or something. I forgot her name. I looked at my notes to like read up about what I was saying about the episodes when I was watching them. I forget her name, but she's like a weird frog lady, and like apparently she's like some sort of force sensitive. It's a little weird, but I kind of like it. Like, it's cool to see like different sides of Star Wars. It really adds to the lore, like seeing these weird species. Again, it adds a lot to the lore, and like it's more mysterious vibe to it, which I kind of dig. The other part of this episode is seeing the 104th and Commander Wolf on this mission, because they're the ones supplying the humanitarian aid. And it's funny to see them, because you can tell like clones. It's funny because clones would rather be out fighting in the war and fighting battles than like actually helping with humanitarian aid. We kind of see that in season 1 with Waxer and Boyle, where like they're on this battle on Ryloth, and they don't really like, there's citizens involved and like people involved, and they just like want the people to stay out of their way. They don't really care about all that. They just want to do their job. But it's funny to see the clones react to this like sort of mission. It's like, oh, another one of these missions. It's like, it's funny. Again, seeing I love the 104th. They're probably one of my favorite battalions or legions of clones, honestly. It's like you got the 501st, you got the 212th, you got the Coruscant Guard, and you got the 104th. And those are like the big legions, and corp stuff and all that stuff. Again, really cool. I like that. And then again, we see the 104th later in the Nomad droids. But I really like that stuff. But yeah, it's just it's kind of just another filler side plot, side mission stuff with R2 and C3PO. So it's not all that interesting. So yeah, not really much to talk about, but yeah. In number 20, we have season 4, episode 4, Shadow Warrior, which is a 7.94 out of 10, which is still a B tier episode. So it's actually a pretty interesting episode. So it's like Anakin, Padme, and Jar Jar. They all go back to Naboo because there's like been some stuff going on with the Gungans about how the Separatists are trying to get the Gungans on their side, and then there's this person named Richelieu who's trying to convince the Gungans to join the Separatists. But the Gungans' leader, I forgot Boss Leone. So it's weird that Boss Nass, who used to lead them, is not the leader anymore, but Boss Leone is. And in order to, silence Leone trying to convince the Gungans not to join the Separatists, Boss Leone tries to kill him, but he ends up surviving but in critical condition. So Padme and Anakin, like, they kind of see, like, Jar Jar and Leone, they kind of look really similar, especially when Jar Jar puts his like, I don't know, his crown or like hat on or whatever it is. So they try to get him out there to disguise himself as Boss Leone, convince the Gungans not to join them. But, Dooku and Grievous are behind all of this. So Grievous shows up there, Dooku's there. The Gungans end up actually capturing Grievous. And, this isn't good. So Sidious has to come in and he has to tell Count Dooku to capture Anakin. So he sends Richelieu to lead Anakin to Dooku. He kills Richelieu for being an idiot, and then Anakin and Dooku have this fight. Dooku captures him, so now they have a trade-off. They have to do a trade-off because Padme's there. Sidious is smart. He knows that Padme isn't going to keep General Grievous and let Anakin be tortured and killed by Dooku. So she trades Grievous for Anakin, which is definitely a questionable move, but I guess it makes sense because I feel like even if Grievous was captured, they probably would have just found another person to lead the droid army. But again, it was still a bad move because Sidious was like, this capture of Grievous is disturbing. I need him for my plans. So they get him back. They do the trade-off. And I wonder how the Republic would feel about that. This is kind of an interesting episode. Dooku also is like, really interesting in this episode where he kind of gives Anakin is like, this war started on Naboo years ago and said the Sith control everything and that you just don't know it. Dooku, he's, he makes good points. Like, basically, yeah, this war did start on Naboo. The Sith were in control of everything even then. So, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting stuff. I wonder how the Republic would have reacted if they knew that they traded just one Jedi for General Grievous, who is basically leading the war against the Republic, to be honest. Like, Dooku, yeah, but General Grievous, he was the one, like, in control of almost all the battles and stuff. So I wonder how they would have reacted. I don't know if they really knew, but I imagine they wouldn't be happy with that. But again, this was a decent episode, honestly. I liked the battles going on. Rip General Tarple is actually, Grievous kills him. He does a sacrifice to get him captured. So that's another thing. Like, Tarple's death was almost for nothing. So yeah, it was interesting stuff, but I thought it was a little boring. Not boring, but a little slow, and some things, like, didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, I kind of don't like how the Gungans captured Grievous so easily, even though it was like, I don't think Grievous would have been captured unless, Tarple's sacrificed himself. But then, having all that stuff to do with Anakin and all that, the trade-off and everything, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, I guess it's an interesting theme. Like, would you give up someone as important as Grievous just to save one, Jedi general because he's getting tortured and killed? Would you do that? I think in basically every case, if we were in war, no one would give up like one commander or general to, release. I don't think a trade-off like that would ever happen in war, just because, like, it's way too important. But oh well, that's just what I think. But that's number 20 on the list. Number 19, we have season 4, episode 2, which is Gungan Attack. And this takes place on Mon Cala, the home of Admiral Akbar's species. Mon Calamari, I'm pretty sure that's their species name. It's cool to see this war going on. This isn't the first episode of the arc. Episode 1 actually kicks this off, but I think this episode is the worst of the 3. There's 3 episodes in this arc. It's an interesting episode, but I think the first episode and the third episode are just better lead-offs, and this one's kind of just to fill in the gaps. I can't really even remember all that happens. I think the Jedi and stuff, they get all captured and stuff. Tamsin plays a bigger role in this. Riff Tamsin, he's like a shark species. I forgot his species name. I knew what it was at the time. I think it starts with a C. But Tamsin's kind of leading this civil war with, like, there's two different species in this planet. There's the Koran and the Mon Calamari, and the Koran have grown to not really like the Mon Calamari as much. So Riff Tamsin has tried to organize a war between them, and if the Koran win, the Separatists would be able to get control of the planet, but if the Mon Calamari kind of win, the Republic would maintain control of the planet. But the Jedi are there to try to make peace with this, but the war happens. And yeah, that's kind of just what happens. I can't remember what happens at the end of this episode, but I'm pretty sure basically everyone is captured. And Riff Tamsin and Count Dooku, they're kind of almost in control right now, but the prince of this planet, Prince Lee Char, he's kind of became the king now because his father was murdered. This is kind of how it started, the whole thing. Riff Tamsin murdered Prince Lee Char's king, or Prince Lee Char's father, who is the king, and then Prince Lee Char was to take over as the king, but the Koran species didn't like this, so that's kind of why they wanted to side with the Separatists over the Republic so that they could get someone better to be the king. But yeah, this episode was just all right. Again, I can't really remember a whole lot about this episode for some reason. But yeah, this is an 8 out of 10 episode. Not bad. Just probably a little slow, not really rememberable. But yeah, this is number 19 on the list. And then at number 18, we have the first part of this arc, Season 4, Episode 1, Water War. And I kind of really explained the plot of this arc, to be honest. Prince Lee Char's father, who is the king, was assassinated, so this whole thing was kind of started up. So, again, it's just a cool battle. It's cool to see, like, the prince in this situation. He's obviously inexperienced, and he's supposed to kind of be leading his people in this war, and Admiral Akbar's there to, like, give him support and stuff like that. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see Prince Lee Char in this situation where he's supposed to be leading his people, but he's inexperienced. He doesn't really know all what to do. And like on top of that, his father was just murdered. It's like hard to deal with all this stuff, but I think he does a really good job. The Jedi also really do a good job helping him. Ahsoka's there to help him and all that. I think it was really cool, but yeah, again, I should have. I need to rewatch this arc again because there's not a whole ton I remember about it, but it was a good arc from what I remember. I mean, pretty decent. I think all episodes are above an 8 out of 10, so that means it is pretty decent. But yeah, it's not bad. But at number 18, not 18, that was number 18 out of 8.06 out of 10, which is a B tier episode. At number 17, which is Season 4, Episode 14, I don't really need to say Season 4, but Episode 14, it's A Friend in Need. And this episode is where Ahsoka and Lux kind of have an episode together. So Lux, who we remember is Mina Bontari's son, and he wants revenge against Count Dooku because he knows Dooku murdered his mom. So he kind of wants revenge on this. For some reason, Mandalore is involved in this. I don't remember why. Again, I need to almost rewatch the Clone Wars again because there's a lot I don't remember about some of these episodes. But from what I know, they're trying to like have peace talks, and Lux gets in trouble. Ahsoka has to help him, but then he wants to do his own thing, so he stuns Ahsoka, and he goes to one of the planets that the Mandalorians are on. This planet that they're on is actually in the Acolyte for the first episode that I remember. But I don't remember all that happens in order for all that to happen. I just know that Lux is trying to have a deal with the Death Watch because, you know, the Death Watch were kind of betrayed by Dooku as well. So he's trying to have an alliance with them in order to, you know, take Count Dooku down. But, you know, having a deal with the Death Watch is never a good move, and they do a bunch of bad stuff that Lux doesn't like. And again, Ahsoka's there too. It's cool to see, you know, their interactions and all that stuff. But again, not a bad episode. It was really cool though to see the Death Watch and, you know, what Ahsoka thinks of them. It really ties into a lot of what happened in season 2 and season 3 with Mandalore, and then what we'll see in season 5 with them. But again, not a bad episode. I liked the interactions with Lux and Ahsoka. Ahsoka is able to, you know, make him realize that he was wrong in trusting the Death Watch, and eventually they're able to defeat the Death Watch and get off this planet. And again, the interactions with Ahsoka and Lux Monteri, it's kind of obvious they have feelings for each other. But, you know, Lux has to go his separate ways, so it's cool to see how Lux and Ahsoka feel towards each other. Again, we have that love interest a little bit. That's what it is. But it's weird because, you know, if we remember, I'll talk about this once we get there, but in season 7, Ahsoka and the Martez sisters have an arc together. Originally, that arc was supposed to be Ahsoka and just some guy, and it was supposed to be another love interest for her, which I think would be kind of weird because we just had this whole thing with Lux and Ahsoka. And I guess, you know, it kind of gets resolved in season 5 on the Onderon arc, where Lux starts to have feelings for another person, and Ahsoka kind of has to accept that. And, you know, maybe they drift away after that, which is why this guy in season 7, or was supposed to be in season 7, comes in. But it was just kind of weird. But again, this is only this episode, and I think it worked really well. Like I said, this is number 17 on the list at an 8.07 out of 10, which is still a B tier episode. Only 0.01 above number 18, which is funny. But yeah, that's all I have for that episode. But at number 16, we have episode 3, which is Back to the Water War. This is called, Prisoners. And like I said, this is when Anakin, Padme, and all of them have been captured by Riff Tamsin. I guess that happened at the end of episode 2. But yeah, this is kind of all about rescuing them. But then Princely Char is also captured, and he's about to be executed, but then they save the day. The battle ensues, and Princely Char gets the upper hand on Riff Tamsin and kills him. And everything is resolved. Princely Char is now the official ruler. There's also another side plot with one of the Corran people who is kind of he liked Princely Char's father, but he kind of has to side with his people, and he's kind of forced to side with the Separatists because Riff Tamsin kind of bullies him into doing so. But yeah, it's just a little, you know, not a bad episode. A good resolution to the arc. I mean, it's an 8.2 out of 10, which is a B+, so pretty good episode. Again, there's not a whole ton I remember about this episode. Maybe there really isn't much to remember. I mean, this is just an episode about the Mon Cala and the Republic versus the Corran and the Separatists, and it's pretty simple. There's just a whole lot of moments in this arc. Again, there's a lot of moments with Kit Fisto's in this arc too, which is kind of cool. We see Anakin Skywalker doing a lot of stuff, which is really cool. And again, there's Jar Jar's in this arc as well. There's not a whole ton of Jar Jar, so if you don't like Jar Jar, these episodes aren't that bad, to be honest, with him in them. But again, I think just a classic decent arc. Not really much to talk about. The whole arc as a whole is like a solid B. So again, not a bad episode. Not much to talk about. Everything gets resolved here. Yeah, just not a bad episode. Not much to talk about besides that. At number 15, we have season 4, episode 12, which I'm pretty sure is in the Zygerian Slavers arc, and yes, it is, called Slaves of the Republic. And this one comes in at an 8.22 out of 10, which is still a B+. Number 15, like I said. And again, like I said, this takes place in the Zygerian Slavers arc. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Rex are trying to discover what happened to a missing colony of Togrudans, and it traces them to this planet. And again, while they're trying to find the colonists, Anakin is trying to get is gonna try to there's a queen of this Zygerian planet of Zygeria, and she's kind of like the leader of the whole slave empire basically as well. And Anakin tries to disguise himself as a slaver and win her trust, and then he can find out what happened to the colonists. But it kind of backfires on them because Obi-Wan kind of goes on his own mission, trying to find the governor, or just do whatever, and he ends up getting captured by the Zygerian slavers doing this. So now Anakin has to rescue Obi-Wan, and that just backfires. He ends up getting captured. And yeah, it just all goes kind of south. Again, there's kind of a thing, the Queen of Zygeria, she ends up taking a liking to Anakin. And even though he gets captured, he kind of has her trust and stuff where she wants to lead with him. So it's a cool dynamic, and it's cool to see Anakin in this situation. Anakin, he hates this whole thing of slavery because he was once a slave and his mom was once a slave. So he really doesn't like slavery at all. And there's a moment in the first episode of this arc where he really, shows his hate for slavers. But even here, he doesn't like the slavers at all, where he ends up force choking the queen. But again, it doesn't go further than that. He doesn't try to kill her or anything. It was just out of rage where he was trying to get information about where his friends were. But the queen isn't so easy to manipulate and stuff. But again, it was cool to see Anakin in this situation with the queen and stuff. Yeah, just pretty good episode, honestly. Again, it's not the most amazing episode ever. It's only an 8.22 out of 10. But this arc as a whole is really good, and we'll get to some of the other episodes later. But again, I really like this episode. It really tests Anakin and his emotions on stuff, and it really shows how far he's gone at this point, where he gets pissed by a lot of things. He shows his dark side a lot. So yeah, again, really good episode. And yeah, it's the second part of a 3-part arc, so it seems a little bit in the middle, where not much happens, but it's still good, honestly. So number 15 on the list. And then at number 14, we have episode 15, which goes into the Obi-Wan undercover arc, which is called Deception. And this episode comes in at an 8.3 out of 10, which is another B+. And we kind of start this episode where Obi-Wan fakes his death, and it really seems kind of real, where it seems like Obi-Wan might actually be dead. But, obviously for people who have watched all the Star Wars movies at this time would know he's not dead. But it's funny because the creators, they were kind of knowing, there could be children watching this who have never seen, any other Star Wars stuff, who might not know anything. So it'd be kind of cool to, fake them out and, make it seem like Obi-Wan really is dead here. Which I wonder how kids who watch this episode and never seen any other Star Wars reacted to this. It'd be kind of interesting. if I watched this episode and I hadn't watched any other Star Wars, I'd probably be really sad as a kid, or even now. Like if I was watching in chronological order, didn't know anything about the other movies, I'd probably be pretty sad too, and kind of confused how he died like this. But again, like a little bit later, like basically, I'd say probably 2 minutes later, after this happens, it's revealed that he is alive. So it's kind of funny. It's revealed that this whole thing is a fake out to like try to get Obi-Wan undercover, obviously, because the Jedi have like learned that there's a plot to kidnap the Chancellor, and learned that Moralo Eval, who is like a criminal mastermind, might be behind it. So they try to get Obi-Wan in prison, disguised as the bounty hunter who supposedly murdered Obi-Wan, and get Anakin to believe this as well. So then he can try to make contact with Moralo Eval and like get in on his plan, because Moralo Eval would be interested in hiring someone like Reiko Hardeen, who is the bounty hunter, as someone to be on this mission to kidnap the Chancellor. So if Obi-Wan can learn a whole lot about this mission, the Jedi can foil it. But again, this is a bad move, and even Yoda like feels this is a dark path they're heading down, because this is just a whole bunch of deception and lies. It's good for them, but to manipulate people like Anakin and like a whole ton of people like this, where they're led to believe that a Jedi Council member, Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the best in the Order, is dead. That's not a good move, especially towards Anakin, who Anakin has really grown to. Of course, Anakin has these attachments to people where he like really loves them and can't let go of them. I mean, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin has known him for like a decade now, or like over a decade now. So to see supposedly his master die like this weighs heavy on Anakin, and like we'll see later, but when Anakin finds out they all lied to him about this, it has a burden on them, and we'll see that this was all just a part of Palpatine's plan. So yeah, again though, it was an interesting episode. It was cool to see Obi-Wan kind of play like a villain role, where he's like in prison, he's like tries to have this tough guy demeanor where like everyone in prison kind of like respects him in a way. And again, he gets the attention of Moralo Eval. Then there's a prison break, and Obi-Wan joins him, but Cad Bane is also here as well. He was a part of this mission as well, to get in prison and be in contact with Moralo, and he did this so that he could obviously break out of prison with Moralo Eval. Basically, the entire reason Cad Bane was in prison in the first place was to get Moralo Eval out of prison. And later we see like Yoda's like, foolish we were to believe that Bane's capture was without purpose. And it's like, yeah, Cad Bane literally was in prison just so he could break Moralo Eval out. So even when Cad Bane was captured, it was a part of his plan. So it's funny. But again, it's cool to see Obi-Wan play like a villain role, but we know that this is a dark path the Jedi are headed down, and it weighs heavy on them. But that was, again, number 14 on the list, 8.3 out of 10. And then right after that, we have number 13, which is the episode right after Deception, which is Friends and Enemies, episode 16, which comes in at an 8.41 out of 10, which means we have our first A-tier episode of the season, and it comes at number 13. And this isn't the earliest A-tier episode. If you watch my season 3 episode ranking, you would know that the first A-tier episode actually came at number 14, but now we're getting our first A-tier episode at number 13. So I think I said it, but season 3 has the earliest A-tier episode out of any show, basically. Out of any 22 episode season, it has the earliest one anyway, because then when we get to season 5, 6, and 7, the episodes are shortened, but we'll get to that later. Back to this episode, Obi-Wan's still on the mission for like with Cad Bane and Moralo Evolve, but Cad Bane doesn't trust Reiko Hardin, who Obi-Wan is disguising as. He just doesn't like him because he seems suspicious and stuff. Like, he doesn't think he's a good bounty hunter, and he tries to double cross him, and he just wants him and Moralo Evolve to escape. But obviously Obi-Wan's plan for this. He plants a tracker on their ship. The authorities on what planet are they on? I forget the name of the planet, but it's like a whole crime planet that's controlled by the Hutts. I forget the name, but Obi-Wan plants a tracker on them. The authorities track Cad Bane and Moralo down. So Cad Bane's pissed at Reiko or Obi-Wan for this. But, Reiko, being a bounty hunter, makes up a lie and says the Hutts owed him a favor. So Cad Bane kind of believes this, and right after this, he kind of earns Reiko Hardin kind of earns Cad Bane's trust, because it's like, oh, you're kind of smart, like, you know what you're doing, and he kind of believes that he's a bounty hunter at this point. And again, I just like the world building of this episode. I can't remember this planet's name for some reason, but if someone named me the planet that they're on, I would recognize it immediately. I just can't think of it right now because I'm busy talking and thinking about the episode and everything. But this is a good episode, honestly. It's cool to see Obi-Wan slowly work on Cad Bane. And then we see Anakin, how he's still dealing with like the grief of apparently losing Obi-Wan, and he kind of wants justice because now that Reiko Hardin has escaped, Anakin knows Reiko Hardin escaped, which is Obi-Wan's killer. We know it's Obi-Wan, but Anakin doesn't know that yet. So he wants to get justice and track Reiko Hardin down. And Palpatine, as we see, this was all Palpatine's plan, actually, to, alienate Anakin from the council and even Obi-Wan. So he kind of helps Anakin here. He's like, oh, you can't deny your feelings, Anakin. They are what make you special. It's just like, oh, he's so good at manipulating Anakin. And we see a lot more of this in the Clone Wars. Like, we see how much he manipulates Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. But in the Clone Wars, he does such a good job at it, especially in this arc here. So he knows the information about this and sends Anakin to track Cad Bane and Reiko Hardin down. And this honestly could have foiled the plans of what the Jedi had. And it's a bad idea. The Yoda and Mace Windu are gonna try to get him to stop this, but it's already too late. Anakin's already tracked Obi-Wan or Reiko Hardin and the bounty hunters down, and they get into this fight. And this is where Anakin kind of learns that Obi-Wan is Reiko Hardin, where he's like, he has him in like a pin, and he kind of whispers to him to not follow him. And this is where Anakin realizes something's up. Ahsoka's on the mission with him as well. And also, there's a lot of comedy in this episode too. I think the comedy in this show is really underrated. There's a thing where like Cad Bane is trying to get a new hat because I think obviously he didn't have his original one while he was in prison, and Cad Bane likes his hats, and Obi-Wan Reiko Hardin is like, for wanting to stay covered and hidden, a hat really makes you stand out. And then later in the episode, Ahsoka and Anakin are tracking them down, and Ahsoka sees him out of the corner of his eye. He's like, look, there he is. And Anakin's like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, who else wears a hat like that? So it's kind of funny to see that. And there's a lot more funny moments in this episode too. So I just think this is a really good episode. Again, the first A- episode. Again, I really like it. So it comes in at number 13, 8.41 out of 10. And then at number 12, we have episode 11, which is the first episode of the Zygerian Slavers arc. This is where we see like the Tigrudans are like kidnapped and stuff. But I don't think they know that yet. They just know that the Zygerians have control of the planet now, and they're trying to get them to stop. And I just think this was a really fun episode, honestly. Seeing all the actions, the Jedi and the clones versus the commando droids, Obi-Wan versus Darth Dinar, which is one of the Zygerians in control of this. But yeah, I just think it was really cool to see all this. Obi-Wan versus Darth Dinar, like I said. Obi-Wan can take punches, man. I mean, Darth Dinar was beating him up so much, but he was able to tank all of it. So it was really cool. And there's also the plot where Anakin and Ahsoka have to defuse the bombs that the Zygerian slavers planted. Because again, the Jedi kind of think that the Zygerian or that the Togruans are somewhere on this planet, so they gotta defuse the bombs to save the people and stuff like that, even though they're not here. And we kind of see, like, there's a moment where Anakin sees the Zygerian that Obi-Wan's talking to on a hologram, and, you know, Anakin kind of unleashes his dark side a little bit, where he, like, Zygerian scum, I'll handle that slaver. And, you know, we hear Anakin's theme and everything. And, you know, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka have a little talk where, like, Anakin was a slave and, like, these people are slavers, so that's why Anakin's so upset about all this. And then later when Anakin and Ahsoka captured Darth Dinar, Anakin legit basically threatens to kill the Darth Dinar if he doesn't reveal where the colonizers are. And honestly, I think he would have killed him if Ahsoka wasn't there with him. Because, like, Anakin has, like, a lightsaber to his neck demanding where the colonists are, and Ahsoka's, like, sees this, is like, Master. And he stops, but, you know, if Ahsoka wasn't there, I think, you know, this whole thing would have gone a lot differently. But, yeah, it was interesting to see all this. Again, I really like this episode. Cool to see all the action and stuff. Cool to see all these character moments. Again, I could talk a lot more about these episodes and, like, all the separate character moments, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter here. We're already 40-something minutes in, and we got more than 10 episodes left. So, again, trying to keep it a little bit more simple, but, again, I really like this episode, the character moments, especially with Anakin and just all the action and all that. It's funny to see, like, Obi-Wan's personality and then Ahsoka and Anakin's personality together. I just like all of it. I love the character moments and stuff and just all the action. So that's number 12 on the list, 8.7 out of 10, still an A-. But then we get to number 11, which this might shock you guys, and I'll explain it. But at number 11, we have Season 4, Episode 8, which is called The General. And this is the second part of the Umbara arc. And a lot of people... I'm going to get to the other episodes later, but I'll say it right now. Well, actually, I can get to it right now, but I'll spoil it just for you guys right now. But number 11, number 10, and number 9 on my list are all Umbara episodes, and people would be like, well, Jack, how are all these episodes so low on this list? And to that, I got to say, like, I feel like the Umbara arc as a whole, it feels more like a movie, to be honest. So it's kind of honestly hard to rank all these episodes as just, like, episodes. Like, if I could rank this whole arc as a whole, for sure, it'd be, like, probably, if I was doing an arc ranking for Season 4, this might be number 1. And you'll see where I have the last episode of this arc later, because I think the last episode of this arc is, like, really good. So you'll have to wait and see where this is. But in terms of the first 3 episodes of this arc, I just think they just build up to the finale, you know? Like, they're really cool on their own. Like, still, this is number 11 on the list out of 9 out of 10. Like, 9 out of 10 is nothing to sneeze at. A 9 out of 10 for an episode is really good. And that's an A-tier episode, almost an A+. So it's really nothing to sneeze at. But again, I just think there's, you know, episodes that work better as an episode. I just think that this episode here just kind of leads up to the finale. Like, it just feels like a part of a movie, to be honest. So it's kind of hard to rank as an episode. But again, it's still a 9 out of 10 for an episode. So that's still really good. And again, this is part of the Umbara arc. So we see like all the clones, General Krell and all that stuff. And it's really good, honestly. I like it a lot. Again, we know that General Krell is like, at this point, if you're watching it for the first time, I feel like not a lot of people really believe that General Krell is like evil and wants to sabotage the clones. When I was watching this, or like keeping an open mind while watching this, like before I did my rewatch, I knew that General Krell was a traitor. But I tried to keep an open mind. Like, how would I think if I didn't like know what happens in this arc? And when I was watching this arc, I was just thinking like, okay, yeah, I would think like General Krell is a strict general and like he's kind of like an a-hole to the clones, but it's not like he's evil or like wants all of them to die and stuff. He's just like he's doing what it takes to win and stuff. And it seems like, he's putting these clones' lives at danger, but at the end of the day, he knows how to win battles. So even though he's being reckless, he can get the job done and, win these battles. But the clones don't like that he puts so much lives at risk. And, the 501st, they're led under Anakin. So they kind of, think like Anakin. They're like more free thinkers compared to the average clone. So it's cool to see them like question Krell's orders and stuff. Later in this episode, Rex has a plan to take the airbase. Fives, I'm pretty sure, in hard case, go undercover and take the airbase, but Krell didn't want this to happen, but they do it anyway. And Krell can't really do much about that yet, but we'll see later that if people disobey orders, they'll pay the price. But here they are able to take the airbase, and Krell is, happy about it, but they're lucky. But I love the clone moments, like really questioning their lives and stuff, and like what they should do, how they should put their lives on the line and stuff. Should they be listening to Krell, even though like a lot of people die under his command and he's being reckless with them? And again, at the end of this episode where they take their base, Rex and Krell have a moment where Krell is like, luck has smiled upon you on this day. You're able to take the airbase. And Rex isn't like, well, wasn't all luck, sir. A lot of men died to take this base. And Krell's like, oh, a price for such victory. Perhaps someday you'll realize this. And, Rex doesn't like this. It's like Krell really doesn't care about them all that much. And Fives comes to him and is like, he's the one that will never realize. Because, like, at this point, again, we just think that Krell is reckless. He doesn't really care about how many lives are lost as long as he gets his victory. But, this weighs on the clones. Like, the clones are brothers. They're soldiers in battle. They fight together. So, like, when one of them dies, it weighs. Like, seeing all their brothers die, it weighs on them. And I imagine that's how it is in a real life war battle. Like, seeing all these people you fight with just die right next to you, it weighs on people. And that's like, how soldiers in real life, they get PTSD and stuff because of all these horrible things that they see. So it's the same thing for these guys, and they were bred for battle, but at the end of the day, they're still human. They still have emotions. They still have thoughts. They still react to things differently. And, again, that can weigh on them. And like, they're even taught to like value each other's lives, even at Camino, where they're brothers and stuff. So of course this would weigh on them. But again, I really like the moments between the clones. There's a lot of, what would you call it? Discourse among them, where like Rex is like trying to follow Krell's orders to a T, but again, these clones don't like it, and Rex doesn't like it either. But it's their job to follow Krell's orders. That's what they were bred to do. They're commanded to follow their general, even if it puts their lives at risk and if they don't agree with it. But again, it's really cool stuff. And again, I like this episode. I'm kind of generalizing the arc, but there's some things I talked about this episode Fives and Rex have like a moment where Rex is trying to lead them, but basically all the clones don't like this plan that Krell has, and Rex tries to pull Fives aside to like get them to, you know, calm down. But even Fives is like against this, where he's like, you know, I don't like this either. It's like, should we really be following Krell's orders to a T like this? So again, it's cool stuff. But yeah, that's why I think about this episode in general, which was The General, season 4, episode 8, 9 out of 10. And then at number 10, so now we're in the top 10 for the season. I'm going to take a water break. I can feel my throat. You know, we're 50 minutes in. My throat's kind of sore a little bit. Sorry. Just had a little water break there. But at number 10, we have season 4, episode 9, Plan of Descent. And this episode is, so I'm pretty sure it's Jesse, Fives, and Hardcase that have this plan to go to an air base in order to destroy it. And that would really change the tide of the war, or this battle, because if they destroy this supply ship, that would limit the resources that the Separatists and the Umbarans have. There's a lot to talk about in this arc. I'm just realizing it. There's so much to talk about in this arc, and this is why it's one of the best arcs in the show, to be honest. But there's so much to talk about. I love this arc, but I'm kind of like ranking episodes. If I do, again, like I said, if I like rank arcs and stuff, I'll go into more broader detail. It's kind of hard to talk about everything when you're only just talking about episodes. But I like this episode where Fives, Jesse, and Hardcase, they're supposed to march to the capital. Krell has ordered like all of the 501st to march right into the capital. But this is a bad plan, and they know this. Like, they're supposed to take the main route right to the capital, knowing that it's basically a suicide mission. Like, if they march to the capital, I mean, the capital is heavily protected. All the Umbarans will be there, and they'll be able to just shoot everything at the 501st. So, like, it's basically going to be all of the 501st versus all of the Umbarans. And if they do this, so much men on the 501st are going to die. I'd say more than half of the 501st troopers would die if they go on this mission. And this was Krell's orders. And everyone's supposed to go there. Like, no one could do anything else. Everyone's supposed to go there. And if anyone disobeys this, it's, you know, they're going to be court-martialed. But Jesse, Fives, and Hardcase, they don't like this plan. They don't like this plan at all. They know it's a suicide mission, and they have an idea to do something better, which was destroy this supply ship. And if they destroyed the supply ship, a lot of Umbarans' resources would be really depleted, and after that, they would be able to have a better plan to take the Umbarans down. So it's really cool. And also on this mission is the 212th with Obi-Wan Kenobi. They were going to go to the capital as well, but I think they had like they were doing something else. And while they're doing something else, the 501st was supposed to march to the capital first. And once they, get into the battle, the 212th would later join them. But by that time, the 212th joined them. The 501st, they would be very weakened, but yeah, it would just be, it'd be a bloodbath. And again, of course, the 501st don't want this. Like, so many people are going to die. General Krell's being reckless with their lives and stuff like that. It's just bad to see. It's bad to see that. And again, like I said, there's this whole thing between Rex, Fives, and the rest of them where, like, Rex, he sees that, the clones are being treated, badly by Krell. Like, this is reckless, but at the end of the day, they're soldiers, and if they're asked to lay their lives down for this cause, that's what they'll do. But, Fives is one of those people who's like, where's the honor in dying like a soldier when we're just marching to our deaths for no reason when we could be doing something better? And, he does the better thing. They're able to destroy the base, the supply ship. Hard Case, which is a clone we get to know a lot more in this arc. We first see him in season 2 with actually Rex and Jesse in the Deserter episode where Rex meets the Deserter clone, and Hard Case is there too on that mission to Seleucami. But now we really see him with his personality a lot more in this episode, and unfortunately he gives his life for this cause. The place to blow up the supply ship is ray shielded, but Hard Case has an idea to get behind the ray shield and throw something into one of the reactors to blow up the ship. And he sacrifices his life for that. Fives and Jesse escape. And it's cool to see the lore behind this as well. The reason they know how to blow up this supply ship is because Anakin told Fives in the 501st of how he blew up one of the Trade Federation ships. So it's cool to see Fives, learn that from Anakin and able to do the same thing. But again, it was really cool. And Fives, Jesse, and Hard Case knew they'd be court-martialed and stuff if they went on this mission and disobeyed Krell. And later, when they complete the mission, they return. General Krell has them meet with him and Rex. And yeah, it's bad. It's Krell's these troopers have committed a very brave act, but unfortunately they've also directly disobeyed my orders, and it's not treason, but they've directly disobeyed a command from their general. That's, clones can't do that, so they'll be court-martialed. So Krell is they're going to be court-martialed and they will be executed. And yeah, it's just a bad look. And this is where I really started to hate General Krell. The first 2 episodes, I was like, okay, yeah, he might be a bad guy. Or he's a strict general who, is kind of reckless with his troopers' lives. But he's not absolutely evil guy. He's just just a really strict general who just does whatever it takes to win. But he's not evil. But this is where I really start to think he's evil. It's bro, you're so full of yourself. You're really going to execute these clones even though they did the right thing? It's it's stupid. And then I'll get to the next episode of this, or the finale of this arc later, but it just gets so much worse. I really despise him after this episode. But again, I really like this episode. This is a 9.1 out of 10. So an A+, the first A+ of the show, coming in at number 10, so that's really good. Out of any season 1 through 4, this is the earliest A+ we get by 2 episodes. So the first A+ in season 3 came at number 8, but the first A+ of this season came at number 10. So this is where you kind of see to where season 4 is definitely better than season 3 and stuff. But yeah, I really like this episode. And then at number 9, we see the first episode of this arc, season 4, episode 7, which is Darkness on Umbara. This comes in at number 9, another 9.1 out of 10, A+, just a little bit better than Plan of Descent, which was season 4, episode 9, which was number 10. This is a number 9 at a 9.1 out of 10. And, this was such a good start to the Umbara arc. We see the 501st. They're being led by Anakin Skywalker on this mission on Umbara. And, the Umbarans, they're on a mission against the Umbarans. It's funny because we don't see any, droids in this arc. It's all against a local militia on Umbara. They're literally in a war with actual, human beings, basically. So it's not humans against droids. It's humans against other humans, which makes this battle feel so real. This isn't this isn't just a clones versus droids battle like we see a lot. This is humans versus humans, so it feels like a real battle. And a lot of people compare this to like the Vietnam War or like Doomsday, and I kind of see I see the comparisons for sure. Like it really feels like a real war going on here, or a real battle going on. So it's really cool to see all these battle scenes and stuff. I love the beginning battle. Again, we see Obi-Wan's on this mission as well, but they're on a different part, so it's not like they're like close to each other at all. They're on this separate battle, which we don't really see much of. But I just love this battle here where like the clones are just forced up into so many different situations. I really like it. I like this episode a lot. And then, Anakin's on this mission as well, but then he's sent back to Coruscant by orders of Chancellor Palpatine. Oh, gee, I wonder why. And honestly, some part of this makes me think that Palpatine set this up as well. Like, he probably knew General Krell was this person who was really bad at, saving clones or like keeping clones' lives. And honestly, he might have known that Krell was already turned to the dark side and like just hated the clones and stuff and like was going to get them all killed. So maybe that's why Chancellor Palpatine sent Anakin back to Coruscant and replaced him with Krell. He probably did this knowing that Krell was going to basically get a ton of Anakin's men killed, and possibly even people like Fives and Rex killed. And he knew this would upset Anakin. So if this actually happened and Anakin found out, this would lead Anakin even more to the dark side. So honestly, I would not put it past Palpatine to have orchestrated this, to be honest, where he would think Krell would get all of his men killed. So again, very interesting stuff here. I really like this battle. This is where we first get Krell, and immediately he's at odds with the clones and stuff. And honestly, it's cool to see how they first react to Krell. Fives really doesn't like him. Even Rex doesn't like him all that much. There's a moment where Rex is put on a first assault, and it kind of really backfires. This was Krell's orders to like go right on the main route. Of course, there would be booby traps and stuff. Sorry about that. There'd be booby traps and stuff. And like the Umbarans would have the advantage on the main route. And, they're put on the edge, and Rex orders his men to retreat. And Krell doesn't like this, where he kind of like berates Rex. And Five sticks up for him. Credit to him. He's like, if in case you didn't notice, Krell, Rex just saved our squad from certain death. And Krell has him stand out, and then Rex is like, if I can address your accusations, I followed your orders, even though this plan, in my opinion, was severely flawed, and this cost us men, not clones, men. And he's like, as much as I am commanded to follow your orders, I also have another duty, which is to protect my men. And, it's a really nice stand-up that Rex has, and Krell, kind of realizes this. We know Krell's a bad guy now. So Krell probably sees what Rex does here. He's like, oh, shoot. Yeah, Rex kind of stood up to me here. I might be going too far too soon, so I kind of have to, lay it down. Tone it down a little bit. He's like, oh yeah, you're right, Rex. He's like oh yeah, I know my plans and stuff. They might seem reckless, but I'm effective in what I do and stuff. So he kind of tones down and stuff. He's like, all right, Rex, your opinion's been noted. So yeah, that's it. And Rex kind of does a better job in the later episodes, where Rex is kind of like, oh yeah, I don't like what Krell's doing here, but like, we have no other options. We have to follow the general, or else, we'll be relieved of duty. So later, Rex is kind of more put on edge here compared to this episode. But yeah, again, I really think this was a good start to start to the arc. I really liked it. The first battle, how they first get around to Krell. And we'll get to the last episode of this arc later, but I'll just say right now, it's really high up on this list for episodes ranked worst to best. But at number, what was this? At number 8, we finally get into another different arc that isn't the Umbara arc. We have Season 4, Episode 18, which is Crisis on Naboo, and now we're back to the Reiko Hardin Obi-Wan Undercover arc. This is the finale, where this is the bounty hunter's grand plan to kidnap Palpatine, and the Jedi are getting prepared for this. Obi-Wan's filling them in on the information, and this is the final plan. And it honestly goes off pretty well for the bounty hunters, and they're actually able to kidnap Palpatine. But then, we kind of realize the whole thing here. This is kind of like, this wasn't explained in the arc completely, but this whole thing was a complete setup. Like, the bounty hunters, I mean, yes, they were ordered to kidnap Palpatine and deliver him to Count Dooku, but that was never the plan for Dooku and Sidious. This whole thing was basically done to make Anakin more alienated from the Jedi and to test his power level. So we see that the bounty hunters actually succeed in kidnapping Palpatine, but when Cad Bane and Moralo Uval deliver the Chancellor to where Dooku wanted them, Dooku isn't there. And Cad Bane and them are confused by this, and then Obi-Wan shows up. He, reveals himself as Obi-Wan, and he's able to defeat Cad Bane and Moralo, and, save the Chancellor. Gets the bounty hunters all arrested and stuff. And that's that. Oh, we solved the thing. Oh, we saved the Chancellor. Of course, that was never what was actually going on here. Anakin is very mistrusted of the Jedi now. Like, they lied to him. Even Obi-Wan lied to him. It's like, how many lies have been told by the Council? It's like, so literally, again, like I said, this was all done to make Anakin distrustful of the Jedi and feel like they're, like, alienating him. And again, Sidious did this perfectly. This whole thing was to get Anakin to not trust the Jedi as much, and of course to get Anakin on his side more than anything. And even, like, plant seeds of doubt on his own master, Obi-Wan. Like, Obi-Wan even tells him it was his decision to keep the truth from him. And he's like, if you believed I was dead, Dooku would believe it as well. So, like, Obi-Wan has a point here, but, this wasn't... sorry. This was not a good move. And, again, Yoda says this in the very first episode, and later he says this was wrong to do against Anakin. But, yeah, this, of course, would make Anakin very distrustful. And then later, Anakin's with the Chancellor, and Dooku's there as well. And it's just not a good look for him. Not a good look at all. And then Anakin and Dooku have this fight. And this whole thing also was done to test Anakin's power level. So literally Sidious had all this happen ultimately so Anakin could fight Dooku and see where his power level was at, especially when he was enraged. So, like, Anakin was obviously had pent up frustration, and now he's taking all of his frustration and anger on this duel with Dooku, and he almost gets the upper hand on Dooku. Like, he has him back into the corner where it looks like Anakin's winning, but then Dooku, force lightnings him, gets him off, and Dooku's about to actually kidnap the Chancellor here. So, I wonder how this would have panned out if Dooku was actually able to capture the Chancellor here. But then Anakin and Obi-Wan are able to get the Chancellor back, and then Dooku's like, well done, Master Kenobi. You make a worthy adversary. I can't say the same for your apprentice. So it's like, I mean, yeah, this was good stuff by Obi-Wan. He was able to infiltrate all this stuff really well. I don't know how much Dooku knew until, the box which we'll get into later. I think it's actually the episode right after the spoilers, but this was number 8 on my list at 9.4 out of 10. So I didn't say this, but this is a 9.4 out of 10. So we go from number 9 on the list, which is a 9.1 out of 10, to a 9.4 out of 10, which is an S tier episode. So yeah, I really like this episode. This was an S tier episode, 9.4 out of 10, number 8 for season 4, which is insane. We already have an S tier episode at number 8 on the list. To put that in perspective, for season 3, the first S tier episode was number 5, but our first S tier episode for season 4 is number 8. So that puts in perspective even more how good season 4 is. So yeah, really good episode in my opinion. Just brilliant writing, honestly, to get Anakin distrust to Jedi even more. Shows you how smart Sidious is, and just really good action, honestly. It's really cool to see the bounty hunters in action and stuff, and just really good episode in my opinion. And again, if I do arc rankings or arc reviews, I will definitely talk about this one more in detail if I ever get to that. Just to let you know, though, that probably won't be for a long time because I still have a lot more work to do with all my Clone Wars stuff. But hopefully I can get to that soon, but it probably won't be for a while. It might come towards, I might do arc rankings and, arc reviews by the end of this year, but we'll have to wait and see. But let's get back to the episodes. At number 7, we have episode 17, which is The Box. And this is kind of a rare instance where, the third to last episode in the arc, it's interesting because normally you would think the last episode in an arc would be the best episode, or even possibly the first episode in an arc would be the best episode in an arc. You would never imagine that the second or third episode in an arc would be the best episode. But honestly, I think The Box is the best episode in this 4-part arc, and it's the third to last episode in the arc, or it's the second to last episode in the arc. So again, there's 4 episodes in this arc, and it's interesting that the third episode out of 4 in this arc is the best episode, in my opinion. You normally don't see that. You normally wouldn't see the middle or second to last, or an episode like that to be the best episode in an arc. But I really love this episode. Coming in at number 7 at 9.5 out of 10, which is another S tier episode, a lower S tier episode, like the first one was. At a 9.4 to a 9.3 starts off S tier in my books. If you don't know my grade scale ranking, a 9.3 out of 10 is an S tier, but is where the start of an S tier, and 9.4 is still a lower S tier, and so is a 9.5, like a flat 9.5. Still a lower S tier episode, but I really still like this episode a lot. I mean, I just love how creative it is. And again, The Box, it's designed to, test a bounty hunter's skill and see if they're right for the job. And a lot of people will die in this challenge, but whoever succeeds will be the best of the bounty hunters, and put on to do this mission to kidnap the Chancellor, which is arguably, in theory, one of the biggest missions a bounty hunter could ever be on. Kidnapping the Chancellor of a republic, that's an insanely big heist mission, and Dooku even says it, if you all succeed in this mission, you'll be compensated enough to where you'll never have to work again. So if they succeed this mission, they would have enough riches to never have to work ever again in a day of their lives. So this is a big mission. So I mean, it makes sense that they're put on this challenge, where people will die in order to succeed. The best of the best. I mean, it makes sense, but if you watch there's this thing webisodes or featurettes, I've mentioned them before, but there's also a thing where the creators and stuff actually react to the episodes and analyze what they're doing. but they say that the box is like legit designed also to weed out like Jedi. So like if there's someone that succeeds insanely well at this course, or there's like things that they do to see like if they're like actual Jedi infiltrators on this mission, they'll know. And Dooku, after this episode, based on what Obi-Wan does in these challenges, Dooku knows that Reiko Hardeen's a Jedi, basically. And he even gives it away even more to where like Dooku would think possibly it could even be Obi-Wan Kenobi, where, he's seeing what Reiko Hardeen's doing, and Moralo Evol's the designer of this box, so he like knows everything about it. And Dooku asks like, I said something different about that one. Who is he? And Moralo Evol tells him who he is. He says he killed a Jedi with a sniper bullet. I think he says he killed a Jedi named Obi-Wan Kenobi, but only with a sniper round. And Dooku's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, yeah, Dooku's already sensing something's wrong with this. Is like, you killed Obi-Wan Kenobi with a sniper. I think not. And it's like, yeah, this whole thing, again, was designed to weed out a Jedi, and I think that's exactly what it did. I think after all of this, I think Dooku knew that Reiko Hardeen was indeed a Jedi in disguise, for sure. And again, that's not all. Like I said, this episode is so good. I mean, I love this episode so much. I don't know if you knew that. I love this episode. Cad Bane is so sick in this episode. There's a moment where Cad Bane just kills someone because he likes his hat. It's like insane. And it's cool to see all the bounty hunter introductions. Embo's in this episode too, and it's like cool to see the interactions. Like Cad Bane tips his hat to Embo, and Embo does the same. It's like, it's cool to see respect in the bounty hunting business. Like, both Embo and Cad Bane like know how good each other are and like respect each other for that. And later we hear that Embo has the second highest bounty tallies in the season, second only to one, which is Cad Bane. And I love all that stuff. I like honestly, in theory, bounty hunters are kind of boring, but in the Clone Wars, they make them seem so cool and like so like lived in. It's like, again, world building. It's like, it's cool to see like how people like live in this world, like where there's stuff like bounty hunting and stuff, and it's like to see the culture and stuff behind bounty hunting. I think the Clone Wars does a really good job at that, and I really like that. And again, not to mention, like I said, how creative this episode is, the levels they have to go through, and like it's so cool to see like bounty hunters either thriving or not doing so good. Obviously, if you fail some of these levels, you'll die. So like we see these bounty hunters die in these missions. I really like this episode a lot. Again, if I ever do arc reviews, I'll definitely go into this episode a lot further. But there's also this thing where Moralo Evol tries to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's succeeding too well in his tasks. So when Obi-Wan runs out of sniper rounds in one of the levels, where Moralo Evol's like, oh, it's also important as a bounty hunter to have luck, and your luck just ran out. So through that, he's going to try to kill him, but then Cad Bane saves him. He's like, if you're going to kill him, do it like a man. And it's cool to see that from Cad Bane. I mean, this moment here as well cements Cad Bane to be the best bounty hunter, in my opinion. Again, you could argue like Jango Fett or like Boba Fett are better bounty hunters, but honestly, you don't see that in like film or cinema. You'd have to go to the comics or novels to see that from them, in my opinion. So yeah, stuff like that. I love Cad Bane for this. And, it really shows that Reiko Hardeen gained his trust just by simply being a respectable bounty hunter, where Cad Bane, saves him from death because, it's the honorable thing to do here. It's like it would be dishonorable to kill someone like Reiko Hardin in this way. So again, really cool stuff. Obi-Wan ends up fighting Moralival and doesn't kill him, which would obviously even set Dooku off even more, where he's not killing an unarmed person that's weakened and stuff. So yeah, of course. Again, I just really like this episode a lot. Again, number 7 on the list, S-, 9.5 out of 10, really good episode. So yeah, that's why I have it this high. And now we're getting into the really good stuff here. At number 6, I have episode 21, and this comes in at a 9.8 out of 10. Almost a 10 out of 10 episode, 9.8 out of 10. And this is episode 21, which is Brothers. And originally, I did have this episode at 9.8 or at a 10 out of 10. Originally, this episode I ranked at a 10 out of 10. But then I realized, like, I don't know. I mean, this is a really good episode, don't get me wrong. Still a 9.8 out of 10. That's like one of the highest you can get besides a 10 out of 10. But I just think, there's not enough in this episode to make it a 10 out of 10. But again, that being said, this is still a really good episode. I love it so much. Seeing Savage Opress search for his brother, seeing how everyone's reacting to this. At the beginning of this episode, we see both Dooku, Anakin, and Asajj Ventress all sensing this like power imbalance here. First, I think it's Count Dooku that we see, where he's at his palace at Sereno, where he's like, as every day that passes, this creature Savage Opress is growing stronger, and now that he's not with the Night Sisters, there's no one left to control him. And at the end, he's like, something is rising, something sinister. And man, so good. And then we cut to Ventress. She's having a drink with one of her bounty hunter friends. We'll get to that later, how she became a bounty hunter and stuff. But she senses something happens. She gets all tense, grabs her lightsaber, and her bounty hunter friend is like, why so tense? And Ventress like, I thought I sensed someone. And Latsrazi, the bounty hunter she's with, is like, who is this someone? And Ventress is like, a monster. And yeah, I mean, at this point, he is a monster at this point. And then Anakin is with Ahsoka at a diner, and he's like meditating deep in thought, and Ahsoka's like, what's wrong? And he's like, I sense something sinister. Same line as Dooku, by the way. He's like, I sense something sinister. Yeah, I mean, just crazy to think about all this stuff. Like, again, the power imbalance, Maul and Savage, I just spoiled it, but Maul, Savage is trying to find his brother, which is Darth Maul, as we have seen at the end of the Night Sisters arc in season 3. Talzin sends him on a mission to find his brother, and this is what this is, basically. Savage is on a mission to find Darth Maul, and he ends up finding him, and man, to see the state that Darth Maul is in this episode is crazy. Like, bro has just completely lost his mind on this planet, and I really like that. Like, bringing Maul back was definitely a controversial choice. Like, bro got split in half and fell down like a reactor chamber, whatever, just fell down a deep hole. Like, bro had to have died from that, but he somehow survived. But to see him in this condition honestly makes it justified, to be honest. Like, to see how insane he's become, to see how he's survived this, see the state he's in. I mean, the voice acting as well. Sam Witwer is an absolute legend, to be honest. Like, his performance as Maul in this episode is amazing. And his performance alone as Darth Maul is why I originally had this at a 10 out of 10 episode. Is like the acting and stuff that he does with Maul in this episode is absolutely superb. To play the twisted mind of Darth Maul, who has survived all these years after being cut in half, living on a junk planet, having to basically eat garbage and like live animals to stay alive, just fueled by revenge, and to see the state he's in. Like, his mind is literally shattered and broken after what has happened to him and what he's had to do to stay alive. And he even said this, where it's like, you would not imagine the depths I would have to go to stay alive, and fueled by nothing but revenge, basically. Basically, the only reason Maul was able to stay alive is because he was fueled by hate and revenge. It's like, that's the only reason he was able to stay alive. And it honestly makes more sense that he's alive. It's like, basically no one could have survived something like this besides someone as powerful as Darth Maul, and someone who could only be fueled by hate and revenge to stay alive. And honestly, it makes so much sense for like a Sith to survive this because of what they do and what they are. It makes sense. It's like, if a Sith, a Sith's worst fear is honestly death. Sith tried to stay alive by all means possible, and we see this in like Legends lore. The Sith try to find stuff to stay alive, like essence transfer. Like, they'll do anything to stay alive. And again, we see Sidious obviously survive in the sequels, which I think was just executed poorly. But the Sith will do anything to stay alive. Their biggest fear is death. It's like, once you die, you become nothing. It's like, so you'll try to do anything to stay alive, and this is how Maul survived. By being fueled by hate and revenge. Like, he couldn't die. Like, if he died, that was it. He wouldn't be able to, possess stuff. He wouldn't be able to do things he wanted to do. And basically, his biggest thing for staying alive was to get revenge. And that's what he did. And I just like that so much. And again, the acting performance by Sam Witwer is amazing. Seeing Savage on this journey to find his brother and stuff. Seeing the lore building of the planet that he's on, Skako Minor, I believe it is, the planet. It's a junk planet that Maul survives on. So again, like, literally surviving on a junk planet to survive in order to stay alive. It's crazy. And I just love everything about this episode. Nearly perfect, except that there's just not enough, in my opinion. Like, most of this episode is just Savage, like, just wandering on this planet. But that's like, that's the only complaint. It's not even a complaint, to be honest. The only real complaint is that there isn't enough that happens to make it a 10 out of 10. But basically everything about this episode is honestly perfect. So, yeah, that's why it's a 9.8 out of 10. Number 6 on my list, and now we've got to the top 5. And you guys might be shocked at this one, but at number 5, we have Season 4, Episode 13, which is Escape from Kadavo, the finale of the Zygerian Slavers episode. And this comes in at a 9.9 out of 10, which is like so close to a 10 out of 10 episode. It's so close to a 10 out of 10. High S tier episode. 9.9 out of 10. I think this is the highest ranked episode I have, like, as a whole, without it being a 10 out of 10. Like I said, a 9.8 out of 10 came before this, but besides a 10 out of 10, I don't have anything higher than a 9.9 out of 10. So this is the only 9.9 out of 10 episode, and nothing is higher than a 9.9 out of 10 besides a 10 out of 10. So besides a 10 out of 10, this is the highest rated episode I have. And honestly, for good reason. I love the conclusion of this arc. It's so satisfying. At the beginning, we see Obi-Wan taken to a slave camp, and we just see how so evil this place is. The keeper of this slave camp, his name is Argus. He's beyond evil. When Obi-Wan arrives to this slave camp, the slave keeper just kills a bunch of slaves just to, like, piss Obi-Wan off and to get his attention. Is like, oh yeah, if you don't take this seriously, oh, you're going to be taking it now. So literally as soon as he arrives, he just like drops a bunch of slaves into a pit and kills them. Yeah, I mean, this is insane. And later we see like how much in peril he is, Obi-Wan. And it's interesting because like the queen, like Dooku shows up to like see what's going on here. And basically, again, like I said, if you remember, the queen has grown attached to Anakin and like isn't gonna kill him. And so the queen, her name is Mirage. I'm pretty sure her name is Mirage. So she's discussing a plan to Dooku about what she's gonna do to the Jedi. And basically, she wants to enslave the Jedi. And she illustrates this through Kenobi's. Like, Obi-Wan's in peril. He's, put in this state where he can't help others, and any attempt he tries to help others will only make it worse for the other people. All these people are suffering around him, and there's nothing he can do about it. And that's what's breaking Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan being this slave camp and being tortured and having to work hard and, like, being put in these conditions, nothing what's going on for him is what's hurting him. His physical pain that he's going through isn't what's hurting him. It's his mental pain of not being able to help others and feeling like he can't control the situation he's in to help others. That's what's hurting him. It's not because he's hurting physically. It's because others are hurting around him and he can't help them is what's hurting him. And honestly, that's what makes Obi-Wan basically a perfect Jedi, in my opinion. It's not because of his own selfish reasons that he's hurting. It's because he cares so much about these other people, and the fact that he can't do anything about it is what's like breaking him, and that's what's controlling him. It's like he'll do anything for the slavers now just so that other people don't get it worse, because any attempt he tries to do to help them will only make it worse for the other people. So he can't do anything, like I said. I just think that's so good. It's such good writing for the Jedi, in my opinion, especially Obi-Wan Kenobi. And again, we see that Dooku's like, oh, wow, what great plans you have. But unfortunately for you, I don't want to enslave the Jedi. I want the extermination of the Jedi. And of course, Mirage doesn't want this, and Dooku even further demands her to kill Skywalker, and of course she doesn't want that. And she's like, I will not be ordered about in my own palace, Count. And she tries to turn to her prime minister for help, but then the prime minister is like, I'm sorry, Queen, but the Jedi should die. You're not fit to be queen anymore. And she calls them traitors. She takes out her light whip and is gonna, do whatever to Dooku, but she's stupid. Like, that was such a bad choice for you. Dooku already told you he was once a Jedi, so he's obviously force sensitive. So if he sees you as a threat and not doing his will, he's just gonna kill you. So he starts force choking her. Anakin shows up on time, and then later we see Mirage. So at the beginning of this episode, actually, like, Anakin finds out that Dooku is showing up to oversee what the Queen's doing. So after all the talk in the last episode Mirage had with Anakin about him being a slave to the Jedi Order, now Anakin's like, oh, so even you have a slave. And she tries to deny it, where Dooku's not his slave. But then as she's dying, when Anakin gets her out of the situation that he's in with Dooku, she kind of agrees with him. As she's dying, she's like, you were right, I am a slave just as you are, and then dies. I think that's a fitting end for her, honestly. And it's weird because, like, Mirage would be considered a villain in this arc, but it's like, I mean, yeah, she's obviously a villain. Everything she's doing here is wrong, but in the end, it's weird because I'm not happy or sad that she's died, but it's not a bad thing that I'm not happy or sad that she's dead, but it's an interesting way for her to go out, honestly. Like, I don't know, there's just something about it. I don't know. It's interesting. I honestly don't know how to explain it, to be honest, but it's just interesting. Like I said, it's like she's obviously a villain in this arc, but it's like, I don't know. It's not. It doesn't feel. I don't feel happy that she's dead, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, she's dead, and that's probably a good thing, but I don't feel happy about it. And it's probably because of what she says in the end. It's probably because she kind of realizes that, like, she was, like, in the wrong, I guess. It's like where she acknowledges that she is a slave. It's like what she kind of realizes that she doesn't have this power and control of this slave empire that she once thought she did. She's like, oh, well, I guess, even I was a slave. Like, I couldn't just do whatever I wanted. I had to listen to Dooku, or else I would die. And now I'm dying because of what I did. It's like, oh, yeah, fair enough, honestly. And then later in this arc, obviously we see the complete and total destruction of the slave empire and the camp that they're on, which is completely satisfying. The reason that this episode is a 9.9 out of 10 is because it is so extremely satisfying to see this slave empire collapse. Everything that they put our protagonists through, everything that Ahsoka had to go through, Anakin had to go through, Obi-Wan had to go through, and seeing these slavers or the slaves and stuff in this amount of torture and peril, it is so satisfying to see the Zygerian slavers get their comeuppance and see the complete and total devastation of their slave empire and their operation. And the 104th comes in to save the day. It's the 104th coming in with Plo Koon and Wolf and Warthog in the squad. It's like, oh, it's so good. So satisfying. And yeah, it was just such a good ending to this arc, honestly. One of the better endings to an arc, in my opinion. And yeah, I just really liked it a lot. So that's why it's rated so high. 9.9 out of 10, like I said. Number 5 on the list. So yeah, really good in my opinion. And I'm going to take another drink here because these next 4 episodes, they're something. Sorry. Hopefully that's my last drink break. But at number 4, we have season 4, episode 20, which is Bounty. And man, this is such a good episode. If you've watched this episode, you know how good it is. And some of you might be shocked that it's like higher up than like I said, Umbara episodes. But I love this episode. So this happens after the last episode, which was episode 19, Massacre. So in a way, it's kind of like a part of this little arc here. Even it's more loosely connected than other arcs, but I would still consider it some sort of an arc. So after what happens in the last episode, Asajj Ventress is kind of alone. She doesn't know what to do. She ends up on Tatooine. And there, she's at a bar and ends up killing someone because they're like freaking assaulting her. And it's cool because Bosk is here, and who we later know as Lots Razi. But they see this and usher her over to them, and it's revealed that that guy she killed was a part of their bounty hunting team. So his name was Oked, but Bosk and Lots Razi are part of a bounty hunting team, which this guy that she just killed is part of. And they're about to go on a mission soon, but now that she just killed one of their team, she has to fill in for him, or else they'll turn her over to the authorities, which I find hilarious on Tatooine. Like, turning someone over to the authorities on Tatooine, like, come on now. But I imagine if that didn't work, they probably would have just done something else to her. But, Ventress accepts because she's a little short of work anyway. And we see that she's taken to Boba Fett. So Boba Fett is the leader of this bounty hunting crew, which consists of obviously Boba Fett and Bosk, but also Dengar is with them too. And then we know Highsinger, C-21 Highsinger, and Las Razi. And if you watch my last Star Wars video, I ranked my my top 10 Clone Wars bounty hunters, and like Highsinger, Boba Fett, Dengar, Bosk, and Las Razi, all 5 of those bounty hunters, and Ventress. So all 6 of those bounty hunters were on my top 10 Clone Wars bounty hunters list. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. It's one of my more favorite Star Wars videos I've made, besides these videos that I'm making. But all 6 of these bounty hunters are in the top 10 Clone Wars bounty hunters for me. So you know this episode's going to be good. And yeah, this episode, I really like this episode a lot. They go on this mission where they're transporting protected cargo to the king of this one planet. And again, the lore building of this episode is so good. Seeing the lore building of the bounty hunters and seeing Tatooine and seeing this new planet. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you guys just like do this yourselves? But they have to do this because they have to protect the cargo, because they're protecting it from these these bandits that try to steal it. They're known as cage warriors. They're trying to steal this cargo, and then it's like, okay, well, why do we have to travel by a train? Why can't you just air deliver it to them or something? Why can't we just go directly to them on like a ship or something? It's like, oh, well, yeah, you'd think we could do that, but this planet's air pressure system is completely pressurized. So if you tried to drive a ship or travel by ship on this episode, your ship would immediately implode because of how pressurized the upper atmosphere is. So again, the lore building of these stuff is so cool. They have to take this like space elevator to get down to the surface of the planet so they aren't completely imploded and pressurized. And then they have to deliver it by train because they can't fly higher up basically ships can't enter or leave this planet. So again, it's just really cool to see that. So we basically get a train mission episode where these bounty hunters protect cargo from these like freaking ninjas. And it's so cool. I love this episode. The cinematography, that's something I haven't mentioned, but the cinematography in season 4 is so great. The Umbara arc does it really well, but this arc, from episode 19 to episode 22, the cinematography is so good. I mean, the action sequences of this episode are so good. The long shots and long takes that they do, it's so good. And seeing these bounty hunters in action, it's amazing. I love everything about this episode. It's so cool. And then we get to like the final part of this arc, where the lead warrior is trying to get the cargo back, and he's able to defeat the bounty hunters. And the like leader of this mission, basically the person that put them on this mission, is kind of like a servant of the king, and obviously he's killed as well. And then the finale basically is Crismo versus Boba Fett, and Boba Fett puts up a good fight, but then he's knocked back and is about to continue the fight, but then he knocked over the chest, and it's revealed that the cargo is like this girl that they're on. And then I said this in my bounty hunters ranking video, again, go watch that, but I really like Boba Fett's character here. Immediately when the crate falls over, he sees it's a girl, and he's like confused, and then he just immediately figures he's supposed to protect this girl. So immediately when she falls out, and he's like, what? He's like, don't worry, I'm gonna protect you. And then she slaps him because she realizes like the person that's trying to get her back is her brother. And then obviously he's knocked out of the fight by the warrior, the brother to this girl whose name is Crismo. It's really cool to see that. It's like, what a plot twist. The cargo they're protecting is a girl, and this girl that they're supposed to be delivering to the king has actually been kidnapped from this guy. We were led to believe that these cage warriors were just thieves trying to take this cargo, but no, they were actually trying to rescue this guy's brother. So wow, what a plot twist! So that was really cool to see. Ventress then gets in a fight with Crismo, beats him up, and they're going to be delivering the girl still to this king. But then, Ventress has this moment where the girl, whose name is Pluma, I'm pretty sure, is like, are you getting what you wanted? I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't want to be ripped away from my home, from my family. And she says, you'll never know what it's like. And then Ventress, she kind of has this realization, because we'll get into this later. Actually, the episode is the next episode, the previous episode, is actually after this episode that I'm ranking right now. But, Ventress has basically lost everyone too. She lost her family and everything she cared about. And that's exactly what's happening to this girl. And, she kind of realizes this, so she kind of like changes her mind. She gets rid of Boba Fett because, he's kind of like being like lippy to her. He wants to be the leader of this mission, but, it's kind of implied that she doesn't respect him. Like he's just a kid. And he's like, boy, you have no idea what I'm talking to. I've been in charge of this whole... And she starts force choking him. He's like, you have no idea who you are talking to. So she ends up faking the delivery. She ends up putting Boba in the crate instead of the girl. So this king that was supposed to get this girl, who, again, I said this in my bounty hunter ranking video, this girl was supposed to be this king's bride, which is crazy. I mean, if you haven't realized by now that this show is not a kid's show, honestly, I don't know what would. This little girl was supposed to be this king's bride. That's insane. And, of course, that doesn't happen. Ventress returns the girl back to her family and her brother. She gets paid for that as well, so it's like double the pay. But she did it for the right reason. You can tell like she had a change of heart. And the guy even says like, how do I know that if I hand this money to you, that you won't just turn us over to the authorities after? And she ends up not doing that. So it's like cool. And you see the change of heart in her. Later, she meets up with the rest of the gang who were defeated and thrown off the train that they were on. And she's like, yeah. She doesn't join their crew, and Bosk is like, you're too good for us now. Is that it? And she says no. And she says, once I was like you, but I'm not that person anymore. And yeah, it's just really cool to see that. And again, I just love this episode. It's like, if you count this a part of an arc, fair enough. But if you count this as like a standalone episode, it's probably the best standalone episode in the show. But again, I think it's still part of an arc. You can honestly tell what a standalone episode is. I think this is part of an arc, but still a really good episode. I love it so much. And yeah, number 4 on my list. And then at number 3 on my list is episode 19, which is Massacre. And this is another 10 out of 10 episode. Just such good stuff. It's so good. I love it so much. I'm actually going to take you a little bit here. This episode is getting really long. My battery, I just saw it's about to run out, so I'm going to start charging. Again, episode 19, such a good episode. So when we left off with Ventress in season 3, we see that she, kind of betrayed Count Dooku, or was like trying to kill Count Dooku. So Count Dooku, learns that Ventress is on Dathomir. So he sends Grievous and a whole platoon of people to freaking capture him, or to freaking kill her and wipe the Night Sisters out, because they're responsible for all this stuff as well. And I just think that's really cool. Let me set this up here. All right. there we go. Yeah, I just think this episode was really good. Seeing the Battle of Dathomir, basically, I love this episode so much. The whole battle sequence is amazing. Yeah, really cool to see Ventress versus Grievous as well. We see Mother Talzin in this episode, and she starts basically torturing Dooku because she does voodoo magic because they found a lock of his hair. So she uses that to do magic on him. Again, this whole battle sequence is amazing. We see defoliator tanks, which we were introduced to in season 1. Just amazing stuff there. I mean, yeah, it's so good. Really good episode. One of the best battles in the Clone Wars, to be honest. And honestly, this episode is a 10 out of 10 solely because of the battle sequences and stuff. And honestly, I really liked the outcome of it. They weren't afraid to wipe the Night Sisters out. The Night Sister clan is completely destroyed. All the Night Sisters are killed. Daka, old Mother Daka, who is controlling this, she resurrects Night Sister zombies. Grievous comes in and kills her, so all the Night Sister zombies who were a big part in helping the Night Sisters win are destroyed, so now they're losing. And yeah, I mean, Mother Talzin gets away as well, but it's holy shoot, yeah, they just wiped all the Night Sisters out, and this is where we see Ventress, she loses everything here. The Separatists win. We don't really see the Separatists win in this show all that much, but I mean, they literally wipe out Ventress and her Night Sister clan, and we're kind of supposed to be rooting for them, but I wouldn't say I was rooting for the Night Sisters. I mean, the Night Sisters are obviously evil in this show. I don't think we're supposed to be led on to believe the Night Sisters are completely good either, but I think we're led to believe that they're better than the Separatists, but they're not good. But honestly, it was honestly kind of cool to see the Separatists and Grievous actually win and actually just absolutely annihilate the Night Sisters. So I think, again, that was really cool. Just honestly, again, like I said, really fun episode, 10 out of 10, and it's honestly solely because of the battles that happen. There's not a ton of big character moments or insane, I don't know what you would call it, plot reveals and stuff. It's just pure solely based off of action and battle sequences, and they do it so well. Really, the only character stuff at the end is Ventress when she's talking with Mother Talzin, and there are moments where her Night Sisters die, Karis, and there's someone else, I forgot her name, that dies by her, and yeah, I mean, those were kind of sad, but I mean, Ventress it's more sad that Ventress is losing people close to her than these people actually dying. And then later, we see Ventress talking with Mother Talzin. It's yeah, everything's destroyed, but you must walk a different path now. So it's this is kind of the start of the growth of Ventress's character arc. So I think that's really cool, but I think I've talked enough about this. Again, it's cool to see Grievous actually get a win for once. We don't really see that much in this show. And again, people like to crap on Grievous in the Clone Wars, but everyone loves to point to his mission on Dathomir as actually being a cool moment for Grievous. And I obviously agree with that. So, yeah, just cool stuff. At number 2, though, we have episode 22, which is called Revenge. And this episode, man, this episode is amazing, honestly. And I said this in my notes, but I think this episode is better than anything Disney Star Wars has done, to be honest. There's been things Disney has done that are good, I'll give them that, but I don't think anything that Disney Star Wars has done is better than this episode, to be honest. So it's a really good episode. This is Maul's return, obviously. Maul is brought back to sanity by Mother Talzin. She fixes him up, and the monologue, the monologue and dialogue that Maul has after this, and the moments he has after this, oh my, everything about this episode is amazing. Legit everything about this episode. And once Maul is brought back to like sanity, the first thing he wants is revenge on Obi-Wan. And yeah, and just what Maul does is insane. Like, his character motivations are insane. He goes to this random backwater planet, and Savage is even like, why are we out here? The Jedi won't be out this far. And Maul is like, in a galaxy at war, Savage, there's only one way to get the attention of the Jedi. Slaughter of the innocent, mercilessly and without compromise. This dude, holy shoot. Like, that's insane. And then literally in the next moment, we see Maul sending a recording to them. Is like, he calls for Obi-Wan personally. That's who he wants revenge on. He's like, you will meet us here, Obi-Wan, and if not, this world will... Well, he says there will be more blood on your hands, Kenobi, and if you do not come meet me here, this world will burn. And on the freaking recording, he literally just decapitates a whole line of people right in front of him. And you see it. Like, you obviously don't see him, like, physically cutting people's heads off, but you see them drop to the floor or ground. And it's like, you're telling me this is a kid's show? No, it's not. And I've said that a lot. It probably sounds like I'm being a dead horse with that message, but it's like, yeah, you're telling me... I can't believe they were able to get away with some of the stuff they did, to be honest. It's crazy. This episode's amazing, and then Obi-Wan obviously shows up to the planet, and he's caught off guard by Savage being there, because he didn't know Savage was the one that brought Maul back. But he's captured, they torture him and stuff, but Ventress is there to save him, because she sees that Savage Opress is wanted, because I think he's wanted because of a stunt that he pulled off at the bar in the previous episode. He's at a bar trying to learn some stuff, but then he's trying to like figure out where his brother is, but then he chokes a girl out and just causes a chaos at this bar. So there's a bounty on him for that, and Ventress sees it and takes it up, and it ends up tracing her to where Maul and Kenobi are, because Savage is there. And she ends up teaming up with Kenobi to fight them. And that's just an amazing team up that no one ever would have expected. Just great stuff, honestly. And we see them fight against Savage and Maul. It's a really good fight sequence. One of the best in the Clone Wars. One of the best in the Clone Wars. And Maul gets the upper hand on him by taunting... Obi-Wan about his master's death. It's like Obi-Wan is like actually kind of... Obi-Wan loses this fight here. It's like he's being outmatched by Maul, and he even acknowledges it. Like, Savage is better than Ventress here, and Maul is better than Obi-Wan here, so they have to retreat. And again, I love the character dynamic between Obi-Wan and Ventress. They're just... The way they play off each other is so funny. It's like, we're outmatched. You want to run? I learned from watching you. It's like, oh, it's so funny. But again, really good episode here. I really like it. Again, one of the best in the show, to be honest. And honestly, it was really close between this episode and number one for me. Like, I wanted to put this episode at number one, but I think the actual number one just, you really can't beat it, and you all know it by now, but it's episode 10, Carnage of Krell, coming in at number one, 10 out of 10. Best show or best episode in the season, and honestly, it might be the best episode up to this point. If you remember my season 3 ranking, you would know that episode 17, which is either... I think it's either Ghosts of Mortis or Altar of Mortis. I don't know why I can't remember the name. I should, if it's either the first or second best episode up to this point. But honestly, this episode right here might be better than that episode from the Mortis arc. I mean, it's It's amazing, and I'll admit this is the first episode up to this. Actually, is it? I'd have to rethink that, but this might be the first episode up to this point that actually made me shed tears, and you all know why. I mean, this episode's amazing, dude. When the clones find out they gunned their own brothers down, and Waxer's death, man, that just hits insanely deep, bro. Like, oh my, I'm getting emotional almost talking about it. Like, it was such a sad scene. If you didn't feel any type of sad emotion during that scene, I don't know who you are. Like, that scene is enough to make any grown man cry for sure. Like, holy shoot, that's so sad. And obviously, it's revealed that this was done under Krell. Like, Krell organized this. So he actually organizes this where the 501st and the 212th meet up. But he says that, they're going to be fighting against Umbarans, and to be careful because they might be disguising themselves as clone armor or as clones. So, of course, the 501st starts shooting at them because Krell said that they'd be disguised as clones. But, of course, Krell knew that they would actually be meeting up with the 212th. So it's like, shoot. Of course he did this, and this is where it's revealed Krell is obviously the villain. If it wasn't revealed before, it's revealed now, because even before this, Krell ordered the direct execution of Jesse and Fives for what they did in the last episode. And this was absolutely shocking. Like, he doesn't even court-martial them. He just orders for the direct execution. And it was actually a tense moment. I feel like most people would think that they wouldn't do this for sure. Like, they wouldn't actually kill Fives and Jesse after this. But they almost make it convincing to where you would think they do. Fives has this moment before they're shot at where he's like, we're good soldiers. We follow orders, but we're not a bunch of unthinking droids. And the people that are, lined up to execute them end up not shooting them. And Dogma, who's one of the people who's been loyal to Krell this entire time, wanted this to happen. I wouldn't say like absolutely wanted this, like he wanted to see them die, but like Dogma is just, he's a clone that just always follows orders. And a lot of people hate Dogma in this arc, but it's like I kind of feel bad for him in a way, because he's just a soldier blindly following orders like he was always told to do. Like, no matter what, always follow your Jedi General's orders, like no matter what. So it's honestly sad to see that. It's like he's being a good soldier. He's following orders and like listening to his Jedi General. It's like, it makes sense. And, it's honestly such a tragic story, to be honest. Like, Krell is such a good villain. Like, the way he was able to make the clones be at odds with each other for some time, and even able to make someone as loyal as Dogma almost like completely betray his own brothers and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, it was just crazy. And after that moment, one of the best lines Captain Rex has said is like, when he meets with General Krell after what happened, Krell's like, I ordered those clones to be exterminated. You're making a mistake by crossing me, clone. And then he says, it's Captain, sir. Rex, you're the GOAT, bro. Rex, Rex is, I would say, basically in everyone's conversation for the best clone, and it's moments like this that make it happen. And I didn't mention this from the Escape from Kadavo arc, but when the Keeper Argus is like, come, Master Kenobi, I know a Jedi won't kill an unarmed man, and then Rex just freaking kills him. And he's like, I'm no Jedi. The one-liners from Rex, man, it's awesome. And it's in 2 recent episodes. This Carnage of Krell is episode 10, and that episode, Escape from Kadavo, is episode 13. Almost back-to-back one-liners from Captain Rex there. It's awesome. And again, like I said, the moment where Krell puts the clones against each other and gets them killed. Just such a sad moment, and especially Waxer's death. just so sad, and literally Waxer sheds a tear. I think that's the first time we've seen someone shed a tear in the show. Just, oh my gosh, such a tragic story. And then, seeing the clones actually, they're actually going to arrest General Krell. And this is the first time this has ever happened. Like, the clones are actually, like, rebelling against the Jedi and are gonna arrest him and stuff. And the build up to that moment is so cool. Seeing the clones march to arrest him. And it's honestly ironic to see that, because, like, this is almost exactly what happens in Order 66 when the 501st are marching to the Jedi Temple to kill all the Jedi there. This is like that moment, except they're marching to General Krell to arrest him and stuff. But it's such a good moment. And yeah, just to see Krell versus the clones, it's so unnerving to see Krell, like, actually kill a ton of these clones, but at the same time, the action is so good. But yeah, this episode, I mean, the payoff to this episode, this is why I said this arc feels like a legit movie, to where the first 3 episodes, they're good on their own, but they're not like 10 out of 10 episodes in my opinion. But they play their role. Those 3 episodes play their role to build up to this final episode in the arc. And that's why this episode is one of the best episodes in the entire show, honestly, and might be the best episode up to this point, besides maybe the final part of the Mortis arc. Like, it's amazing. I love it so much. So yeah. And then we finally see General Krell get arrested, stunned by Tup, who actually makes a good plan to capture him, and actually able to do that. And we see Krell's motivations for why he did this. And he actually, Krell senses orders, or he senses the fall of the Republic and the rise of an empire. And that's why he wants to become the apprentice to Count Dooku, because he can sense that someone powerful like Count Dooku, he's going to be responsible for the end of the Republic and the rise of this empire. Obviously, he doesn't know everything. He doesn't know that Sidious, the Chancellor of the Republic, is behind all of this. He thinks that Dooku's in control and he'll join him. But I think, honestly, in a way, he might sense that the clones are actually, a big part to the rise of the Empire, and maybe he sees the clones as, enemies. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I would like to know what Krell actually thinks of the clones. But I honestly think it's possible that Krell might sense something bad about the clones, and maybe that's why he hates them so much. But I don't know. Then, obviously, we see later that Fives and the clones discuss with Rex that, Krell is too dangerous to be left alive. If the Imbarans are able to, take over this base, they'll free General Krell, and we might be screwed. So they decide he's too dangerous to be left alive, and so that they are going to execute them, which would put them in jail. Like, if you kill General Krell here, you're gonna be you're gonna go to prison. And yeah, so Rex is hesitant to do this because he knows he'll get arrested. And Krell's like, you can't do it, can you? Eventually you'll have to do the right thing and get shot. But it's not Rex that does it, it's Dogma. The person that blindly followed all of Krell's orders, even up to the point of executing 2 of his own brothers, even up to the point of defending Krell, even after he got a ton more of his brothers killed. Like, when Rex and the gang are going after Krell, Dogma has them at gunpoint and tells them to stop, and calls them traitors for trying to get this, for going against the Jedi. But then Rex convinces them in a really good moment, I might add. But then, Krell kind of reveals that he was like blindly, he was counting on people like Dogma to blindly follow his orders to make his plans succeed. So it's like, after that, when they're executing him, Dogma pulls the trigger on him. He's like, he had to. He betrayed us. And yeah, he's right. He did betray you guys. He he did all that. And so Dogma gets arrested for doing that, but it's shown like Rex approves of what he did, and they did the right thing, and just a great episode, just a great arc for the clones in general. I would say, besides maybe the final arc in the Clone Wars in season 7, this is probably the best clone-centered arc, and this might be the best clone-centered arc in my opinion. The season 6 episode or arc with Fives also makes a good case, honestly, but this arc just so good, and this episode really solidified it. And it's just really good. And Rex at the end as well is like, why does this all happen? I mean, why? And Fives is like, I don't know, sir. I don't think any of us know, but there will be an end to this. And then Rex is like, well, then what? What happens to us then? It's like, yeah, it's a good point, because clones were specifically made to fight wars, fight this battle. So, like, what's going to happen to them after this? It's, again, it's such good clone characterization and stuff, and it's so good. I love this arc so much. I love this episode so much. Again, one of the best episodes in the show, and possibly best episode up to this point. So, yeah, it's such a good episode. Nothing really more to say about this. And there you go. That's my ranking. I don't know if I mentioned this, but from number 4 to number 1, those are all 10 out of 10 episodes. So yeah, really good episodes there. I mean, and 10 out of 10 episodes is the most up to this point. In season 2, we only had 10 out of 10 episode. In season 3, we had 10 out of 10 episodes. And now in this season, we have 10 out of 10 episodes. So yeah, just a really good season overall. And like I said, the first A-tier episode happened on number 13, which is really good. The first A+ episode happened at number 10, which is really good. And the first S-tier episode happened at number 8. Like, again, I've said it, but this is the best season, in my opinion. I think this really is the best season in the show. And again, I might do a season ranking soon as well, maybe after I'm done ranking all episodes of different seasons. We still got season 5, 6, and 7 more to go, but we'll get those done probably before the end of the year for sure. Maybe before the end of fall, hopefully. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, though. If you've watched this all the way up to the end, especially when I had like some weird problems, when I had to drink water, when I had to go and charge my phone. If you've stuck around for all of this, I'm not a perfect YouTuber. I don't know how to do all the stuff that professional YouTubers do. I don't even edit videos. I just continue to talk without any, edits of mistakes of me or anything. I do make mistakes in my videos. Again, if you're still here, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for watching this. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.